So the British weather has fallen upon us and we've got snow. Anyway, we're going to push on. One of the biggest challenges you'll find when you first start to work with this camera is gauging exposure. The only real exposure tool this camera has is zebras. Now, I'm personally not the biggest fan of zebras because I think this mess up my frame and I can't see what I'm doing. But the other challenge is, I've got the zebra set to 100% here. If I just pull the Vari-ND up till I see the sensor clip, the sensor is clipping on the zebras at 100%. Now, if I pull that exposure back, so I lose all the zebras, the sensor is no longer clipping, but my scene is very clearly overexposed. The reason that I use this Marshall monitor with the waveform is I've got some guidance here with my waveform monitor. So using the Vari-ND, I can reduce the exposure right down so that my clip point sits beneath that 1 volt, that 100% area. Now what I've got is an exceptionally well exposed frame. Nothing in the frame is clipping, but on the actual camera itself, there is no guide. So until we get a waveform monitor or a histogram actually on the camera, I don't see how you can expose accurately and, more importantly, with confidence, unless you're using the setup. Now this obviously builds the rig up. I think we mentioned the Cineroid has an exposure meter and it's got a waveform monitor, but very few of the EVFs do, so I can trust this monitor. It works pretty well, it's a super bright monitor, so it works outdoors. But here's the other thing, we're currently recording this in ProRes video. Let's just look at the record functions and change to ProRes film. Look what happens to that same image. We haven't changed the exposure. Now, ProRes video is working in a Rec 709 color space, so probably working very well off the waveform monitor. But in ProRes film, it looks totally different. Now, we could think that that looks underexposed, and actually you can pull that exposure all the way up, almost another 50%, 100%. That exposure in ProRes film is different from the exposure in ProRes video. And that's one thing you're going to have to get used to. Your exposure is not the same across ProRes film, ProRes video, and RAW. Let me put it into RAW now. Very similar to ProRes film. It's a log image. So what we're saying here is that if you expose for log, which is RAW and ProRes film, it's very different to exposing for ProRes video. The thing that you have to keep doing is, if I come out of my menu here, is keep it's really tricky. You've got to start thinking in terms of waveform and zebras, because what you don't want to do is have the sensor clip at a maximum white point. So as long as you've got no clip point on the waveform and you're not seeing any zebra show up at 100% on the RAW mode, that's going to give you a good exposure. But exposing in RAW, exposing in log, and exposing in ProRes video is different. ProRes video is a lot like shooting regular video, but log and RAW is very, very different, and you have to be looking at the scene and, as a DP, evaluating where do you want your information to sit within the exposure on the frame, knowing that you're going to pull things back in post or compress things in post. So I wish there was an easier solution, but this could trip you up, so you need to spend some time really getting to know your camera. The thing is that the monitor on the back of the screen is not calibrated, so what you're seeing is not what you're getting. I mean, you can actually see a difference here between just the color tone itself of the Marshall monitor, which is calibrated, and the BlackMagic. The BlackMagic is much cooler and the Marshall is a little bit warmer. So really, the top sort of 3 things here with exposure are, you can't trust what you're seeing, you have to bring in some sort of measurement device so you can gauge what's actually happening, and please be very careful that exposing in the Rec 709 ProRes video is a very different game from exposing in the log ProRes film or the RAW mode. As you can see, it was a significant difference.